Hello, Tom. This is your brake booster in pieces, along with another brake booster as an example. And being as you're one of the best technical guys I know, I figured you would, if anyone, you would appreciate a long and involved treatise on brake boosters, and yours in particular. Now, when it came to me, this cap was off the nose, and so it was already disassembled, and it was missing this copper washer in here. So I, rather than reassemble your booster and put on the test machine, which by the way is over here. Here's my tester designed specifically for testing 50s and 60s brake boosters, where the slave cylinder is integral to the booster, and that's all this thing does, and uses .3 fluid. So it will test your brake booster and others similar to it, but do not send me the brake booster off of your 280 SL. That won't test that booster. So what we've got, so that's why I didn't bother to put yours on the test bench and test what you already have determined is a non-functioning booster. So in no particular order, these are the things that I've found, and that are either digressions from what I'm familiar with, or just something out in left field. So first things that comes to mind is appearance. People tell me, will the cost of the booster rebuild be less if I don't plate it, if I don't get it cadmium plated like this booster can? Well, plating is the appearance of the booster can looking real pretty in silver is secondary to its function. We need a plated surface inside here for the vacuum diaphragm to ride against. Your plated surface is pretty much gone. This is bare steel down here, and once this starts rusting, then you've got your vacuum diaphragm riding in rust, and that's obviously not a good thing. It's going to tear it up. So that's the primary reason for getting these parts CAD plated. I do use CAD, not zinc. I don't like the buildup of the zinc or the surface finish, or just the visual appearance in the factory. Use CAD, so that's, as long as I've got CAD available, we're going back with CAD. Now then, something else. Let's see. Well, I guess we can address that now. Like I say, in no particular order. Okay, this is the plug. Goes in the back of your vacuum can. Now this, as you know, is a port to put mineral oil inside here to lube the leather diaphragm that is inside your vacuum can. But your diaphragm, as you can see over here, was replaced with a rubber diaphragm. And so what people are supposed to do is, when you rebuild this thing, you put this plug in from the inside. So that means, tells people visually you've had an update with the rubber diaphragm, and also second, it tells people, you obviously shows them that they cannot remove this plug and put mineral oil inside where you want a permanent lube on your rubber diaphragm. And so that's what you need to do. You need to put this in backwards when you've had an updated diaphragm installed. Now let's get to the critical face plate. This is not your face plate. This is just an extra one I had here. This is your face plate. And as you had indicated, this had been sleeved inside here. I've only seen this once before. Not sure why you need a sleeve in there. Even if this gets really pock-marked and eaten up internally, you don't have to worry about these sidewalls. They don't seal, essentially. They seal. The sealing is done down here at the very bottom. That is the surface. It has to be square and beautiful. Not too sure about why the need for the sealing, the sleeving of that side of the bore. Now the problem with the sleeving is that it was not done correctly. This is the original faceplate, and I'm using as a reference the snap ring that's inside here. I tell you what, I don't know if you can see there or not. Can you see that? I'm tell you what, I'm going to get my take a minute to get my my light here. Hang on. All right, let's see if this is better. Now, down inside here is a snap ring that holds a stack of parts, which is actually this stack right here, holds them all in place. And it has to have a specific tension on all this stack of parts so that the sealing is done down here, so that you got compression on the part that seals at the very bottom. And when I looked in here, the snap ring was in a different position than what I'm used to. So using this as a guide, just a very rough estimate, just a rough measurement. Let me go over here to the repaired one. And let's do it the other way around. Okay, you see the difference? See how that stack was not going to be under compression because the difference in where the snap ring groove was machined and the snap ring was installed. You got a full, oh gosh, it's 3-4 millimeters. Okay. In other words, this snap ring is not going to put tension on all the parts that are stacked right there. In addition to that, there's a hole that is inside here. And this hole is drilled from the top down, goes all the way through. And this hole is, brake fluid comes in through here and goes up and activates a piston in this area, which tells the brake booster to function. And the hole in the original is just tinier than a needle point. So if I take a needle and stick it down in here, that needle will not go through the hole that's down inside here. You can barely see it. I don't know if you can see that or not. There's a hole, pinhole, up inside here. Gosh, I don't know if that's on camera or not. Anyway, there's a pinhole right there. And that needle will not go through that pinhole. Now, this sleeved unit, if I take and drop this needle in here, as you can see, it goes all the way through. Pinhole is way too big. I'm not smart enough to know if or how much of a difference that makes. I don't redesign the brake boosters. I just put them back together like the factory did in the first place. Now then, let's get to this stack unit. This is what I found inside your booster. We start at the bottom, or at the back side, which is inside here. And this seal was inside here. And then from this side, the following parts were stacked. This fiber, this cup, steel washer, guess we don't need the headlight, this cap that goes on top, and then at that point is when the snap ring would be pressing down on everything. And these two were up at the top inside this groove right here, which seals where your slave cylinder installs. Now the problem with all that is that these two are not correct. What goes there is a square cut O-ring, square O-ring. This, what was in there was round, just an O-ring, and then I'm not sure what this was, where this went. I have no idea where that goes. And what was missing underneath here is this very critical O-ring, which goes like that, and that is the part that seals down at the very bottom on this shelf down here. And when all this stuff is stacked and the snap ring is pushing on everything, you've got a seal down here that keeps brake fluid that from leaking in past down through here and past this seal and into the vacuum chamber. So everything's together. You've got a seal down there, which is on this side right here, and the next thing it is available to it is vacuum. So that seal has got to keep the vacuum and the brake fluid apart. That O-ring rather, and that O-ring was not there. Another issue I have is that this seal was in here, and that is what's supposed to keep the vacuum and the brake fluid apart. Problem is, this thing is just like a rubber cup. I have no idea what its purpose is and what it was going to do, because it was not going to work. What goes there in the first place is a hard steel shell radial seal ring that you have to pound into place. The originals were blue, the new ones are black, but this is to pound into place. So what this meant was that there was no O-ring down here to keep brake fluid out of the vacuum can, and you would never have known that because you have a very early brake booster, and this booster has no provisions for a weep hole to tell you that there is a problem with the seal down inside here. The updated brake boosters have a weep hole, and this weep hole goes right into right inside here. There's the hole right inside there. That hole corresponds to this weep hole right here, and that is your first line of defense to tell you that there is a problem internally in the booster and that your brake fluid is getting past this stack of parts, and in particular this O-ring. And since you didn't have a weep hole here, you would never have known there's a problem. And the only way you're going to find out eventually is if brake fluid is starting to get sucked past your vacuum check valve and into the getting burning through the engine and coming out the tailpipe as white smoke. All right, let's go on to the vacuum diaphragm. The original vacuum diaphragm was leather. Let's see, let's see if I've got one here to show you. Yep, sure do. Original diaphragm was leather. This thing weighs about 5 pounds, and you got leather. You got a wick inside here, which is where the mineral oil it goes that you put in through your fill port right here, and the mineral oil wicks around through the cotton right here and lubes the diaphragm. And this thing's got a plate here, got a plate here. There's a plate inside there. And this stack with a spring back here, this thing is monstrous, and that's why they got rid of it. But the leather diaphragm is really, really great. It lasts forever if it's taken care of. Now then, your booster and a lot of subsequent boosters were updated with a rubber diaphragm. And when you get the update, you obviously, as I told you earlier, you put the fill plug in backwards so that people will not try to put mineral oil inside here, because this gets lubed with permanent grease. And the cross hatching is here, so you pack it full of grease, and that's what gets greased and what does the greasing for the next 30 or 40 years. And this is what the lips look like. The diaphragm that was put in your booster, I've never seen one like this before, and the problem I have with it is that you can see the lips are scalloped. Some are smooth like they're supposed to be. Well, when I mean smooth, I mean straight and making full contact with the side of the can. And then when you get over here, you've got these scalloped portions, which I don't understand how they're going to make contact with the can. So that's another issue that I have with the type of diaphragm that's put in there. And these diaphragms, the correct ones, have been reproduced. They're currently available. Let's see, an issue that you had, you were mentioning with the nose of your booster not having provisions for a oh, I know. Oh, before we go to that part, let's go back to the ring right here. But part of the confusion is that this seal